there it is. You've officially been welcomed to Wordsmiths of Yokohama. I'll just give you the brief overview. So moderating for us today is Frank Walter. He was our guest in April, I think, April's talk shop. He's with Export Japan, and we are in good hands today. And the lineup, we have Ruth and John McCreary, who will interview as a team, and Richard Medhurst and Louise Hill Kawai. And so thanks for joining us from wherever you are in the world.
All right, so then 早速ですが, let's move on to Richard Medhurst.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear okay?
Yeah. Actually, it might just be me. You sound a little bit quiet.
Okay, well, I'll try and talk more into the microphone.
Yeah. It might just be me, so you don't have to worry about it. I can still hear you fine.
Okay.
So, Richard, you're also based in Yokohama. You're also a translator, but you work primarily at nippon.com, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's my job. But working from home for several months.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how you first came to Japan and how you started getting interested in translation?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly interested in Japan when I was growing up, and I never thought I could be a translator. So after I graduated, I went to China with a VSO, which is voluntary service overseas. It's kind of like the Peace Corps or JICA or something. And I taught English there, and that was the first time I kind of encountered Chinese characters. And so I was there for a couple of years. I came back to England, went back to university, and then I wanted to go abroad again. And I thought, but if I go to Japan, I can, learn a new language. But what I've learned in China will help me there. So that's when I initially went to Japan, which was a 3-year stay. And then...
and that was, when was that?
I went in 2002.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in my mid-20s, I guess. And yeah, and so then I really worked hard to learn Japanese, but still I didn't know that it was possible to be a translator. I think I kind of looked into it a little bit, but maybe if I'd gone to one of these kind of organizations, I would have discovered that it was possible. But I didn't. I was teaching at the time, teaching English. I quite liked teaching, and I went on to South Korea. But then, so I kind of went to South Korea and I thought, oh, this is good. I learned Korean as well. But I discovered that was actually impossible. So it's like I was back to square one on the language. I was losing my Japanese, and then I was starting to find, like, where I was teaching in Korea as well, there were 6 terms, so I kept on going back to square one on teaching as well. It's like, oh, I'm teaching this course again. So it felt a bit like going around in circles, and I was thinking, I want to do something where I can, Japanese is central. I don't know if I can be a translator, but and then it's kind of by hook or by crook, I came back to Japan in one of these CIR positions, Coordinator for International Relations, which many people do on the JET program, but I didn't do it on the JET program. I was in Toyama Prefecture, a city called Imizu, and I was there for quite some time. And then it took, because maybe I did think at some point I could become a translator, but I wanted to work in-house because I thought that's the best way to gain experience. And so that would mean I'd have to move to Tokyo. So I'd have to kind of make a big jump. And so I was kind of a bit slow to make a big jump. But then I did eventually come to Tokyo. And actually I had a different job initially. And then I moved to nippon.com after about a year.
So was moving to the Tokyo area like your first big move to a city, or?
I know, like when I originally came to Japan, I was living in Tokyo. I was living in Chiba Prefecture, but I was working in Tokyo for part of it. Anyway, this Kanto.
Okay, because then I know, so that's the second time you were in Japan is when you passed the Kanji Kento, right?
Yeah, at level 2.
And was that like a personal goal, or
Yeah,
like
that was kind of like what can I do next? So I kind of find tests and so on quite motivating. So if I've got a test, then I'm going to study harder. So I did. I kind of found that I thought like the Kanji Kente. It sounds like it's kind of one of these things for people who are I know lots of kanji kind of thing, but actually. If you just want to say I know lots of kanji, then you don't actually need to know them very well. Whereas in the Kanji Kente, you need to know them quite well. So you actually there's a lot of reading in context and so on. So I thought it was kind of a deeper knowledge, because supposedly like the JLPT, the top level you need to know 2,000 kanji, but it's completely different how much you need to know. So yeah, anyway, I found it was a fun thing to do, but yeah, personal goal, I guess.
Yeah. Was studying for the Kanji Kente like helpful with working on translation at all?
Well, yeah, I think you kind of you learn a lot of vocabulary actually. I guess that's what I mean. Like before, I'd seen all of the kanji, but I didn't know them that well. So you kind of see them in lots of different words and so on. So yeah, I think it's I mean, if well, my general opinion on the Kanji Kente is that so the level 2 is up to 2,000 kanji, and then they have higher levels. We have 3,000 and 6,000. I've kind of looked at the higher levels. I'm not sure how helpful they are, but I decided after doing that I wanted to become much better at reading Japanese. So that's what I've been kind of working on.
And so what exactly do you do with your current position at Nippon.com?
Yeah, I'd say it's mostly translation. So Nippon.com, it's a site where I guess what's special about it is almost everything is written in Japanese originally and then translated. So you get a lot more kind of different, I don't know, Japanese voices of various people like academics and thinkers. I don't know. And then so mainly I would translate some of those. So there's always a lot to translate. So there are a lot of external translators as well who do work, and then to a certain extent, being in-house is a fortunate position that I can see the things that maybe I want to translate and choose to some extent. And I also do some kind of editing work as well, and then occasionally I do some writing.
What happens if you're doing do you do editing on like the freelance translators side?
Yeah, so like a freelance translator's work, I'll kind of edit it to, because I guess I think someone in-house is always going to be looking at the article at some stage, partly to do the style and other things that, because we're kind of swimming in it all the time. We know what kind of thing we're trying to do.
Do you ever get significant pushback from someone who like thinks that it should really be translated the way that they said, but you have to change it?
To be we get final say. I mean, the author may come back and say, can you? Is that what you're saying? The author? Yeah. The author occasionally may come back and say, can you do it like this? Probably most of the time, the author would be, like, I don't know, you just translate it how you like. And sometimes they might be, I want to have a quick look, and they'll do something. And then occasionally there's more kind of issues. But, like if they come back and say, can you change this? And there's, 4 or 5 things they want to change, but sometimes the grammar's off. Then, we're not going to put it out with the grammar off. We kind of polish it up and then send it back to them. But it's rarely a problem.
Do you work with a specific set of authors within like the greater Nippon.com community, or is it you might be writing something about like international relations and then you might be writing like a cultural thing, or is it pretty like broad?
I mean, topic-wise, there's a lot of topics. In terms of who writes them, I mean, there's quite a lot of things that are written in-house by there's a team, Japanese team. So they'll write some things they'll get external writers to do. Some external writers will come back, and some external writers they'll just write maybe once or twice, or occasionally. So yeah, it's a bit of a variety. So if it's been written in house, and we pretty much have free, we can change it. Although we don't really have time to mess around too much most of the time. We want to use it as much as is.
Do you ever think about going freelance, or are you pretty happy where you are right now?
I mean, I think it's kind of something that vaguely I think I will do at some point, but I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I mean, so I like the translation more than the editing. If the editing became much more central, then maybe that would be something for me to think about. But again, it's kind of like if I made the jump to freelance, then there'd be some unknowns to deal with, which wouldn't necessarily be ideal. I'm not sure whether I kind of like the do your work in the day and then it's done, and then you don't have to work anymore. This period of time you don't have to work, and so on. So, yeah.
Would you recommend that to like people who are just starting out? So like, let's say my friend has been working at Interac for 4 years and is just kind of ready to get out of the English teaching game. Like, would you recommend trying to get an in-house job, or do you think that like if you got the gumption, maybe you should just go for freelance?
My opinion is, and like what I did is that I mean, it probably depends on, but I think in-house you get a lot of feedback. It's kind of like you're getting paid and it's kind of training at the same time. Whereas if you're freelance, you might not get very good feedback. But I mean, like different people prefer different work styles. But for me, definitely, I was kind of like, if I work in-house, I can learn a lot, and I feel I have. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not.
Have you been able to develop relationships with the freelance staff of Nippon.com?
Well, I mean, I know quite a lot of them from, I guess, SWET and Jat. It's not, I haven't really got to know them through my work at Nippon.com. I've got to know them through meeting them at different organizations.
Mm-hmm. But it's not like you don't necessarily have the same freelancer for the same like 10 articles, and like you're slowly, as you edit, like they're slowly developing their skills or anything like that, really.
No, I mean, everyone's, there's no kind of people who are really just starting out or anything. So, yeah, everyone's kind of quite experienced who does the external translators. Yeah.
What is the structure like in terms of like, is your boss Japanese, and is that like what kind of things come from that when like someone who's a non-native speaker comes and like talks about a particular like way of translating something?
We don't really, I mean, like, the overall boss is Japanese, but like really we have, I mean, there's Japanese checkers who will say, are you sure about this? Or, I think actually this is this. And then you think, oh yeah, or oh, no, it's fine. But there's no one kind of saying, I mean, officially, my boss is Japanese, but she wouldn't kind of, and my immediate boss, but she wouldn't. I mean, she'd leave translation questions to myself and my experienced colleague Peter Durfee, who's been working there for a long time. Basically, he's probably the person who'd have the final say on such matters if there was an issue.
I see. So as long as he says it's okay, it's a lot. Basically, people are willing to be like, okay, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he doesn't necessarily, check everything. I mean, most of the time he doesn't check things. But if there was an issue, and then I'm not sure what to do here, I'd probably ask him. But I don't think there's any cases where these kind of issues arise so much. So probably when I was less experienced at the company, I'd ask him more stuff directly. And then, yeah, I suppose occasionally I might ask him to look something over in more depth, but now not so much.
That
I've
seems
been there quite a
pretty
while.
ideal. I get a lot of maybe I'm a bad translator, but I get a lot of comments from other people in the company of like, is this really what you meant? Or is this really how you think the English goes? So that sounds pretty ideal to me. What would you say is your kind of like perfect day at the company? Like, do you have a particular routine? Like you come in and like you immediately go to the water cooler and like get a cup of cold water to like start your day or something like that?
Well, I'm at home now, but I don't know. Like, I mean, there's certain tasks that I do every day. I mean, I do kind of the social media as well, so kind of posting things on the social media, and then making decisions about, are we going to translate this thing that came out in the Japanese site? Because I kind of do one section of the, and then, but yeah, just check everything's working okay. So we get a lot of so most of our work in terms of translation and stuff is we do, but there's quite a lot on the site in the news section, which is we get things from the wire from GG
I
Press.
think I lost you.
So I might look at that and think, is there something that we should share that's interesting? Any on the social media? Yeah. But I guess my ideal day is I would, but then my day now includes kind of editing every day. So probably I'd like to do translation most of the time. Really, to be honest. But I guess an easy editing job that I just kind of and then I move on to translating something that's quite interesting to translate. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like sometimes I like translating things that are in my areas of interest, like literature and history, but especially history or something, it might be quite difficult to shape it. Because, I mean, it's not, we expect people to know something about Japan, but history things can get to be quite dense. So you kind of got to think, what, how do I explain this? Or maybe this bit we don't need because it's just going to be too dense. So sometimes I like doing some stuff like that, and then sometimes I like doing something a bit more kind of, okay, I can do this, no, and just go through a bit more quickly.
I see. Nice question from Lynn. So like, it sounds like you have like a fair amount of autonomy to like select things within the article in Japanese and be like, oh, this paragraph, most people are not going to get a lot out of it. So that maybe we can kind of clean it up or make it easier to read. But do you, Peter, and like the other members get basically full say on what news items are going to be picked up and translated?
No, sorry. We get the news items from DigiPress. We get them in Japanese and English. So it basically the decision would be whether to share it on social media or not. But we translate most of the stuff that isn't on those kind of DigiPress. Most of the stuff goes into English, although there are some articles that are specifically aimed at there's Taiwanese people. There's kind of quite a strong Taiwanese connection, articles with a strong Taiwanese connection that aren't necessarily always going to be interesting for English readers because there'd be quite a volume of them if we did them all. Because Nippon.com is translated into
many languages, right?
Many languages, including traditional Chinese, and there'd probably be about two articles that have been proposed by that area of the site a week.
Oh wow!
Which is quite a lot. So basically, all the English team will have a meeting every Tuesday, and then some things are going to be translated, and quite a few of the members of the English team overlap with the people who write or commission the articles. So if someone commissions an article, then they will be the cantor for English, and then they will, but if it's if it's an article that's been commissioned by someone who's not in the English team, then we'll just quickly go through them. Well, should we translate that one, or let's, yeah.
How big are the different language teams?
So the English team is the biggest in that there are 3 native speakers, and there's 9 people in the meeting. As I say, some people kind of overlap. So there's 6 Japanese people, but some of them have other duties as well. And then, but most languages, it's just 1 native speaker and then 1 Japanese member of staff.
I see. And how is Nippon.com in term, like, how okay are they with you doing outside work? Do you get to do much freelance work at all, or?
This isn't. I don't actually do any work for money outside Nippon.com, but also you're not really meant to.
Because I know you do write the SWET. You write a column for the SWET newsletter, right?
Yeah, I'm not. There isn't a huge fee for that. I write that for free. So
okay.
I
see. And that, it seems to be kind of connected to like the kanji study and stuff like that. It's very focused. I was looking at some of your Nippon.com articles as well. Like you have, where was it? It's like telling stories to learn kanji, or getting started with kanji, or hiragana, the first building block of written Japanese. Yeah, it seems like language itself seems to be a passion. And is that kind of connected to why you're doing the WordWise and why you're part of SWET and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in the language. And I think, there's a lot of people out there who are interested in the language as well. And there's not necessarily loads of media outlets doing these kind of articles, certainly not big ones. Like if, you don't have like the, Western media, or, don't have articles on learning Japanese on the BBC, for example. So it's kind of, it seems like a bit of a gap, and those are always quite popular. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in learning language. The WordWise, I think how to translate different words it's something where it's one of the things I'm interested in getting like more natural English, but it's also it may be less controversial than some of the ways I do my own translation in the I don't know. I mean, I think it's, the things in Nippon.com, we're writing, we want it to look like English, look like it's been written in English, not look like it's been translated. And so, there are, changes in ordering or just to make it more natural. But maybe a lot of translators, they're more focused on what the client wants, which is more closer to the Japanese. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. And as a final question, like, how has been, because you're based in Yokohama, right? Or at least you're living in Yokohama?
Yeah, I live in Yokohama. Yeah.
Has that had any impact on your work, or have you noticed like anything nice about living in Yokohama, or is it kind of annoying to have to go up to Tokyo to go to work or anything like that?
Well, I've only actually been living in Yokohama for about 2 years, to be honest, and it's not actually that far on the train. It's about like I can't remember, 45 minutes or less to Shimbashi. And but I think, you know, when I was working in Tokyo as well, now I'm working from home, then I was spending most of my waking time in Tokyo. So I didn't really associate myself with Yokohama, but now I kind of associate myself a bit more with Yokohama because I don't go to Tokyo at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I think there's lots to there's lots to learn potentially about Yokohama. It's an interesting place to be.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is reading in Japanese, can that be pleasurable still, or is it just work at this point? Richard, do you read any Japanese for pleasure?
Yeah, I certainly all the time. I mean, I'm interested in literature. I mean, I studied English literature at university, so I've always been interested in. So yeah, I mainly read fiction, and yes, as I said before, like one of the things I want to get better at is reading in Japanese, and so yeah, I do that a lot. I mean, maybe you could say that I'm reading to get better at Japanese. Does that mean it's no longer pure pleasure? Although studying is also a pleasure, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is a question for everybody from Jennifer O'Donnell of, is there a field of translation that you've always been interested in and I've always wanted to try, but have never had the chance to?
It's not. I mean, I've kind of dipped my toe in literary translation, but I'd quite like to do some more in that area. I guess probably like many people.
How do you stay in touch with the community of people who are doing similar things to you, or do you stay in touch with the community who are doing similar things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I'm a member of SWET and a member of JAT, so I kind of follow events in that sense. But I guess I don't really have anything else. I mean, I follow some various mixed group of people on Twitter, some of whom are translators, and then sometimes, you know, I get some ideas and conversational on there. I had kind of been wondering whether, you know, there's a possibility to use Zoom more creatively for workshops or something, but I never really got very much beyond it. You know, like if you had a small group, shorter time period, limited preparation, maybe you could do this kind of thing quite often, like 40-minute sessions on something. I don't know, but yeah, I just kind of, it was a thought. Yeah.
I mean, SWET, as you know, I think as you well know, SWET is always looking for volunteers. So like you could run it.
Yeah, well, that's where the issue would come in. Really, is if it involved a lot of work for me. You know, if it was something that would involve limited preparation, then possibly. But yeah,
That would be fun. I'd be interested. I'd participate. I don't know how well I could run it, but I could participate. What about you, Richard? Is there like a style that Nippon.com has to have, or?
not exactly. No, I think just maybe slightly tweaking the question a bit to what we do. Then, like we're kind of thinking about how much our readers know about Japanese culture, and you know where to pitch that. And I think we kind of, while I've been there, moved to the idea that they know more about Japanese culture. You know, we should. So like before, maybe hikikomori or something, we wouldn't put that in the headline because maybe people wouldn't know it. But now it's like, yeah, our readers know what this is, so we'll put that in the headline. And so there's that kind of thing. And yeah, just a lot of the readers know quite a lot about Japan. I mean, I didn't mention earlier, but it's not just readers in, I don't know, the traditional English-speaking world. So we get, obviously we get readers in Japan, and then we get readers in America and UK and so on. But we also have lots of readers from the Philippines and India and Singapore, Malaysia. I mean, people in the Philippines especially are there seems to be a lot of people who are interested in Japanese and who understand English. So that's maybe one of the larger groups, which maybe you wouldn't necessarily immediately imagine. But so I guess in that sense, so we kind of think these people may know a lot about Japan, and but we try and keep quite a international style in English.
Not kind of sticking to American or to like UK kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could say we're writing in American English. I think it's American spelling for me, and then we use metric. So I don't know.
So?
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. We have when translating a piece of literature or like an academic text or something, especially a longer one, how do you resist the temptation to tinker with the translation too much?
Deadline. There's always something else to do. You know, if I don't get this finished, then, you know, like I have quite a loose schedule, to be honest. But you know, I have to. If I don't get it done, I won't get the next thing done. You know, there's always more things to do, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the thing though. Sometimes it's like I don't have a temptation to tinker with it. I think, you know, that this is okay. Let's go. I used to be really perfectionist, but I seem to have lost this somewhere along the line.
Gotcha.
Perhaps I should add, I only do very short things, so just articles. So I don't really have these kind of experiences.